So I had a situation where I was in a meeting and I came out of my room and I saw a DoorDasher, and it was for the colleagues upstairs. So I said, "Hey, let me take that off your hands. Do you need a code or anything for, completing the order?" And he said, "No, but I do have a question." Long story short, with his scenario, he is a veteran, but he's waiting on a VA disability. His wife is active. They're currently living on base and they've just moved to the area because they PCS from Georgia. They were in Georgia for a while. They actually went through the pre-approval process, but then they came down on orders. And so they weren't there long enough to be able to actually go through the process and be able to, follow through with being able to use their VA loan. So the things that we went through were, what kind of would affect all of that, what options he has right now. And, they do plan on being here for a little bit now and obviously are on base. So they have the freedom to be able to kind of look around, because right now our market here is a little bit saturated because it's high PCS season. So there's a lot of homes on the market. And, buyers are in a really good place as well. So we kind of spoke all through that. I gave him some information. He said, "I'm going to go talk to my wife about this and, getting back in contact with you." And I just wanted to share, because his main questions wasn't even about reusing his VA loan, because he hadn't used that. He was asking more, can I get pre-approved, because I had done that last year. And so this is where this whole thing, what I do, this is where all of this comes into play. Because for someone to kind of think be under the impression that they can't get pre-approved again, I don't know where information is or who's saying information that is being put out there that is making people question certain things like that. And, it's very typical in this industry. Obviously, when you are immersed into it, it's very easy to be like, well, yeah, of course you can get pre-approved again. Like to someone in the industry, that's just like, it's wild for anybody to think that you can't do that. But we have to remember that people who we work with are not in our industry. And so you have to give grace and patience to people, because, that's why we don't have people asking questions. Because if people in the industry are going to make them feel silly for asking the questions, why would they work with them? Why would they want to talk to them? So, that is the whole goal of what I do, because I obviously have been living in America for a while now. But when I first got here, there are a lot of questions that probably did seem silly to a American person, but it wasn't silly to me, because, being immersed into a whole new culture and a new country. And even though England and America are two English speaking countries, everything is still quite different. You still have to relearn a lot of things, and you also just don't know what you don't know. So it was just a really good moment. He was a really nice person as well, so it was great to be able to speak to him. And it was just a good feeling to know that he felt and looked a lot more confident thinking about what his options could be, and to be able to go home and talk to his wife about it and be like, we can do this now if we're here. We don't have to wait or hold on to anything, because, now that we're here, or even because we got, started the process last year. So it was just one of those moments where, it was just right place, right time. You just don't know who you're going to meet on a daily basis. And again, the whole point of what I do is to take information that I know